Hello everyone, a very good morning to all of you. Today is 3rd of October and I welcome you all to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, in this particular video, we are going to take up entire analysis of Hindu newspaper. We will take up all articles and their background as well as all the details associated with the articles we are going to take up in this session. And I would also like to tell you that you can download the explainer notes of this particular session from Telegram channel. Link for Telegram is given in description box in YouTube. Now, first of all, let's take overview of entire newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are actually important in the today's newspaper. So starting up here, we have the first page of the Hindu newspaper Delhi edition, and here first article that we have is Medicine Nobel 2023 goes to duo who paved the way for mRNA COVID vaccine. Now, Nobel prizes are the Nobel prizes have been announced for medicine, and over the next few days, the Nobel prizes in other categories will also be announced. Okay, so we'll take this particular article and we'll see what is important for exam. Then here we have one article at 36%. EBC's largest group in Bihar shows caste study. So we'll take this particular article also and we'll understand that what this particular article contains and whether this article and how this article is important for our examination. Then further moving on in this particular direction. Then we have these articles: Delhi police arrest three with link for to ISI for planning terror attacks. Then these articles are there, political articles, not much important for the examination. Then guys, in regional section again we have the regional law and order related issues, etc. Advertisements, tenders. So no need to go too much in detail here. Okay, so largely relevant articles are not there. So we will directly be moving and will reach to editorial section. Non-editorial, this article, the narrative of development populism. We'll take this particular article with respect to the examination. Now, capturing the rains, this particular article is talking about the monsoon rain. So this particular year, monsoons have been in deficit. 6% deficit is there. It means that whatever the normal rains they used to happen in India, they were not there this year. So usually we receive around 89 centimeter of rain on average. This year it was 6% less. However, guys, understand this particular thing. It was predicted that this year is an El Nino year, and in El Nino year, rainfalls decline during monsoon. Okay, then moving on, and here we have article criminal law bill and a hollow decolonization. We'll take this particular article and see what is important. Then moving on, building bricks for the future. We'll take this particular article also for example. The BJP's gamble in Tamil Nadu, not relevant article for the examination. World reported twice as many cholera cases in 2022 as in 2021, WHO. So guys, here WHO, what it has done, WHO has released the report where it is showing the year-wise cholera cases between 1989 to 2022. So here we see that there was a kind of a spike. Okay, now this is something that has been provided, and no, you need not to track every year how many cholera cases were there, but they show this particular thing that the most cholera cases continue to be reported from Africa and West Asia. Africa and West Asia. This is because of poor sanitation standards. Okay. Then further moving on, we have here the text and the context page. And in text and context page, we have this article counting death in India's prisons. So we'll take this particular article with respect to the examinations. Okay. Then moving on, the advent of franchisee politics in West Bengal. Okay. Now, guys, I have read this particular article. That doesn't contains that much substance with respect to the examination. Okay, so the article says this particular thing that now a form of politics is emerging where the main party leader, they use their influence and they outsource the social control, okay, to the community leaders, etc. Then moving on, after this particular thing, guys, here we see trio took oath of allegiance to carry out terror strikes. So this is about the people who have been arrested by Delhi police. Nothing much important for exam is there, no need to track that thing. Then guys, we have RTA queries reveal several irregularities in MG Narega execution in West Bengal. Now on MG Narega, almost every week there is one article that actually we are seeing. Some articles are talking about the wage delays, some article talks about the implementation. Even last week also there was a article. However, guys, understand this particular thing. You are not really required to go and track every state by state execution of MG Narega that is there. Then we have here the political statements, etc. Nothing much important. Bihar caste survey may throw a challenge to 50% quota limit. So we'll see that how this caste census and the reservation quotas will be impacted by this. So this is a kind of an analytical dimension we are going to take it. Then further moving on, India retaliates demand for nationwide caste census. So again, this article also is related to the caste census. On that article, there is on this line there is already an article on page number 1. We'll take it up. Then further moving on in this direction. Okay, 24 dead in Nanded hospital in 24 hours. Okay. Then after that, guys, moving on. Here we have one article. WHO approves use of malaria vaccine with adjuvant technology. So we'll take this particular article for examination. Activists seek action on officials for abetting boycott of Dalit ration shop owners. So this is actually a very misfortunate and a very saddening thing that even after 75 years of independence, we see this particular thing that the shop that are being owned by the Dalit owners or such the Dalit people, there such kind of things are happening. Then after that, moving on in this direction, revision to July fuel shipments value lift overall export figure. Nothing, guys, for exam important here. Understand this particular thing. Every month by month shipment data, month by month import export data. That too much detail you need not to go. Then further moving on in this particular direction, we largely have the corporate trends etc. here. Then guys, on the world page also, we don't have much relevant articles. For example, Trump attends court, calls a New York fraud trial a scam. Fine after Mizu's win, jailed Maldivian leader Yamin is transferred to house arrest. However, on this particular direction, if you remember, yesterday we have taken a detailed analysis that how the presidential election that have happened in Maldives, they are going to have an implication on India's interest in Maldives. And if you have not seen yesterday's newspaper analysis, I will advise you to go and please see that. Very, very important for our examination. Okay. However, right now, no need to track it. Okay. Then we have the sports page. Okay. And after sports page, we have this one article on science page. What are the Lagrange point and why is Aditya L1 headed to 1? So we'll take this particular article also for the examination. Fine. So this is, guys, all about it. And let's discuss all the relevant articles one by one in detail. Okay. One by one in detail. Now, moving on, guys. So this is the synoptic notes that I was telling you. You can download it from our Telegram channel. Link for Telegram is given in description box in YouTube. And in the synoptic notes, we start with a GS quotation every day. And the idea is that this GS quotation you can use either in your GS papers to complement your answers or in essay. So today we'll take quotation from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Okay. So we are going to take the quotation from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Now, okay. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar says justice has always evoked ideas of equality, equality of proportion of compensation. In short, justice is another name of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Liberty, equality, and fraternity. When we talk about justice, justice has been a constitutional goal. Justice has been the most important goal of a welfareist state. And what justice in a nutshell means? Justice in a nutshell means presence of liberty, equality, and fraternity in balance. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar even has referred to these three ideas as a trinity. And according to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, without the presence of liberty, equality, and fraternity, and most importantly, fraternity, justice will not be possible. Justice will not be possible. So you can use this particular idea in GS paper number 2, polity and governance. GS paper number 2, as well as in essay and ethics also, we can have the usage of this particular article. Now, moving on, guys, and let's take the first article for today. Okay, sir, your voice is echoing. Okay, guys, I hope that his voice has, I hope that the voice is better now. Please check and please comment. Please check and please comment as that is the voice quality better now. Now, moving on, and let's take the first article. Okay. So first article that we are going to take is Medicine Nobel 2023 goes to duo who paved the way for mRNA COVID vaccine. Now this particular article we are going to take up with respect to GS paper number 3 Science and Technology. GS paper number 3 Science and Technology. Even for prelims examination, we'll take this particular article. Now, before going on in this particular article, we will discuss some basic information that is important for you, and after that we'll see what thing Nobel Prize has been given. First of all, the most basic things, and one more thing, as this is not given in this article, so I will insist please download synoptic notes. First of all, when we talk about Nobel Prize, so initially Nobel Prizes were given in the five categories. Initially, Nobel Prize was given in five categories. What are these five categories? Physics, chemistry, physiology or medicine. Fine. One, two, three. Then the fourth is literature and the fifth is peace. Okay. So these are the five categories in the Nobel Prize was given. However, there was one sixth category that got added in 1968. And this sixth category is Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences. So as of today, in six categories, Nobel Prize is given. One more thing, this sixth category was added in 1968, and this Nobel Prize is funded by the Sveriges Riksbank. The Sveriges Riksbank is the central bank of Sweden. So as we have Reserve Bank of India in India, in the same way, Sweden's central bank, that is Sveriges Riksbank, it sponsors, it funds the Economic Sciences Nobel Prize. Okay. So there are six prizes. Okay. Now, moving on, one more thing you need to understand, guys, that when we talk about the Nobel Prizes, these Nobel Prizes are given in remembrance of Alfred Nobel. So, Alfred Nobel was one of our notable, he was a chemist, engineer, industrialist, and was very much popular for invention of dynamite. And there is one little story that you might be knowing. If not, let me tell you. So, once upon a time, when Alfred Nobel was living, what happened? His brother died, and the newspaper mistaken that actually Alfred Nobel has died. Okay, and they wrote an obituary in newspaper. Okay, this was a mistake. They thought Alfred Nobel has died, but actually Alfred Nobel's brother has died. So they wrote by mistake an obituary in the name of Alfred Nobel, and that obituary they started with this, that finally Merchant of Death is dead. Merchant of Death is dead. Now Alfred Nobel read that, and he felt very bad. He said that I am being referred to as Merchant of Death. Why? Because he invented dynamite. He invented dynamite. Now, if you see, Alfred Nobel himself never killed even a single person, but he is being referred to as Merchant of Death because his invention is killing so many people. So for ethics, you can use this particular case study, that moral burden of your acts will always be falling on you. So his invention's moral burden, his invention is being used by other people for destructive purposes, but the moral burden will fall always on Alfred Nobel. He felt very bad, and he wanted that I should not be remembered in this negative light. I should be remembered for something good. And he was a very rich man. So he decided that every year, the people who have distinguished something in these fields, they will be given the Nobel Prize. Okay. And one more thing, guys, this Nobel Prize, it carries a citation. It also carries the cash reward. It also carries the cash reward. Okay. Moving on. Now, when we talk about Nobel Prizes, guys, there are six categories I told you. Now, the five categories, the Nobel Prizes, they are given in Sweden. All the Nobel Prizes are given in Sweden except the Peace Prize. But Nobel Peace Prize, it is the only Nobel Prize which is given in Norway, which is given in Norway. So these things you need to keep in your mind. And when we talk about the Nobel Prizes, Indian or the people of Indian origin who have won the Nobel Prizes, here we have a kind of a list. You can see this particular thing. Now, moving on. So 2023 Nobel Prizes have been started, and over next few days, every day there will be one Nobel Prize that will be given. So now 2023 Nobel Prize for Physiology or Nobel Prize for Medicine has been given. Now, first of all, who have got this particular Nobel Prize. So this Nobel Prize have been given to two people. First is Hungarian biochemist Katalin Kariko, and second is American physician, that is Drew Weissman. So Katalin Kariko and Drew Weissman, these two people have got the Nobel Prize in medicine. Now, why they have got a Nobel Prize in medicine? For mRNA vaccines against COVID-19. mRNA vaccines against COVID-19. Now, in the most simple terms, what are these mRNA vaccines and why they have got the Nobel Prize? So, if you are not from a science background, let's understand this particular thing in the most easy layman terms. Listen this thing. Now, you all might have seen the graphic representation of SARS-CoV-2 virus, COVID virus, and you might have observed that every representation of SARS-CoV-2 virus, they had this spikes. They had this particular spikes. Okay. Now, understand this particular thing, guys, that when the SARS virus enters in your body, what happens? The virus enters in our body, and what it does, it interacts with our cells. It interacts with our cell on the cell, on the human cell, there is a particular kind of a receptor known as ACE receptor, known as ACE receptor. Now, what happens through the help of ACE receptor? Through the help of ACE receptor, these spikes, they bind with the cell. They bind with the cell and they transfer their RNA material in the cell, and they instruct the cell to make more and more copies of this particular virus. Okay. And then a particular person, over a period of time, when there will be large number of replication of COVID virus that will happen in body, a person will see the symptoms of the COVID. Now, understand this particular thing. There is the immune system of our body. There is immune system of our body. Whenever a foreign body, a foreign antigen enters in our body, immune system fights it. Immune system fights it. Now, understand this particular thing, guys. Antibodies prepared by immune system will actually fight. Now, when we talk about this SARS virus, it is a new virus, and as we have not got exposed with this particular virus earlier, there are no antibodies. There are no antibodies. So this particular virus will impact humans, and sometimes it will become deadly. Now, understand this particular thing, that actually, if we see what is the biggest concern in this particular virus, this spikes, this spikes. From these particular spikes, the problem is beginning, and these spikes, they are the cause of they are the most concerning part of this particular virus. Now, there is a vaccine that we are going to develop. Now, what will be the typical technology of this particular vaccine? See this particular thing. Now comes mRNA vaccine. mRNA vaccine. Now, by the way, what is a vaccine? Guys, vaccine is simply a kind of a trigger. In advance, we are giving a trigger to our immune system that this kind of virus will come in future, and you should prepare antibodies in advance. Normally, guys, when we talk about vaccines, in a vaccine, what is happening? Live weakened virus is actually administered. For example, polio vaccine. What is a polio vaccine actually? Polio vaccine is nothing but a live weak polio virus that is being injected in your body. Now, as this polio virus comes in your body, your immune system sees this particular antigen and it prepares antibodies against this. That antibody will eliminate this polio virus because it was already very weak, but if for future there will be ready-made antibodies in your body. So when real polio or when actual polio virus will enter in your body, already there are antibody, they will fight with it. So usually, or what is the most typical way of making a vaccine is administering a person with a live annotated or a very weak form of virus. But that thing becomes sometimes a little bit concerning. Now, what is this mRNA vaccine? So mRNA stands for messenger RNA. Messenger RNA. So what is this messenger RNA? So basically, as the vaccine will be administered to a person, as the vaccine will be administered to a person, this mRNA will give a message. M stands for messenger. It will give a message to the cell and will ask a cell to make, will ask the cell to make the spike proteins, to make the spike proteins. And these spike proteins are very much similar to the spikes which are there on this particular COVID virus. Your cell will make these spike proteins. Okay, spikes like this. And when these spikes will be made by your cell, your immune system, it will get triggered. It will see these spikes in your body and will get alarmed, will say that they don't belong to the body, and then your immune system will fight with these spikes and will prepare antibodies in advance, and these antibodies will be used in future if you actually get infected by the SARS-CoV-2 virus, because that virus will also contain these spikes, and for the spikes already antibody has been prepared. So in most simple terms, this mRNA vaccine, M stands for messenger. It is sending a message to your body, your cell, to make spike proteins. Your cell will make spike protein. Your immune system will see these spike proteins and will say that these spike proteins don't belong to our body and we need to fight it. They will prepare antibody, and these antibodies in future will be used by your body to fight actual SARS-CoV-2 virus. And here, as no real virus is being administered, these vaccines are ultra safe. So this particular technology has been developed or has been perfected by these two physicists or two biochemists and physicians, that is Kathleen Carrico and Drew Weissman. And when we talk about Dr. Kathleen Carrico, she is the 13th woman who had won the prize. Okay. Now, this is about the mRNA, and in a simple terms, I have also given the description here. Fine. I hope that you have understood it. Okay. Now moving to the next article. Okay, guys, I have tried to simplify to the largest extent, and I hope that this article, though had a science dimension, but it has become clear. Now, moving to next article. So here we have two articles actually, two articles. First article is this: Bihar caste survey may throw challenge to 50% quota limit. And then this second article is actually from the page number 1. At 36%, EBC's largest group in Bihar shows caste study. Okay. Now, before going on in this particular article, you need to understand some of the basic background information. It is something like this. Okay. Now, guys, understand this particular thing. That when we talk about the census, the last census that was carried in India was in 2011. And as we talk about these regular censuses, these censuses collect the information about the population of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, but census don't collect any information about every specific caste, about population of every caste, about the socio and economic indicator of every caste. Specifically, other backward caste, every specific information is not collected. For example, how many Yadavs are there? What is the education rate specifically in Yadavs? What is their representation in government jobs? So caste by caste data is not released. In census, data for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe is released, but every caste, A caste, B caste, C caste, D caste, that data is not released. Okay, last caste census that happened in India was in 1931. Fine. Last caste census that happened in India was in 1931. 1941 also the data was collected, but it did not got released. One more thing, many students will say that, sir, socio-economic caste census was also conducted in 2011. Yes, it was conducted, but its report has also not been released. So as of now, last caste census report that we have is of 1931. So nearly 90 years have happened. Okay. And political parties, they are demanding this particular thing, that we need to conduct a caste census. They are demanding that we need to conduct a caste census so that we can actually know that how many people from backward caste are there, and on the basis of this particular information we can redesign welfare schemes. We can also redesign the reservation that are being given. Okay. Now central government as of now very clearly had said this particular thing, that caste census in India will not be conducted because it is a cumbersome and a very much resource taking exercise. So government has made its stand clear. Now Bihar government on their own initiative, they conducted a caste census. Okay, this caste census was also questioned in the Supreme Court. Okay, but then it was said that they can carry. So Bihar government conducted it, and now Bihar government has released its finding. And as per the finding, first of all, let's see the finding what are there. So as per the finding, now Bihar government says this particular thing, that other backward classes, their population is around 27%. Extremely backward classes, their population is around 36%. Scheduled caste population is around 19.65%. Scheduled tribe is 1.68%, and unreserved categories, which are actually called as general category, Their population is around 15.5%. So approximately 85% of the population, it consists of the tribals, scheduled caste people, and backward class people. This is actually the narrative. 15% people are only from the unreserved categories. Okay, this is something that they have said. Now, basically, guys, what is the relevance of this particular data? What is the relevance of this particular data? Relevance of this particular data is this. See, when we talk about Indian politics since 1979 has been characterized by mandalization of Indian politics. What is this word mandalization of Indian politics? Understand this particular thing. In 1979, what actually happened? Mandal Commission came, and Mandal Commission in 1979 was constituted. It released its report in 1980, and in this that report, Mandal Commission said that around 52% of population of India, 52-53% population of India is backward, and these 52-53% people need to be given reservation. And how much percentage of reservation it recommended? 27% recommendation reservation it recommended. First of all, you need to know what was the logic of this 27% reservation. Logic was this. Logic was this. Let me explain you. Logic is this, that see, India gives reservation to scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and then OBC category was added. So scheduled caste people, they were getting 15% reservation. Scheduled tribe were getting 7.5% of reservation. And there is one particular judgment of Supreme Court, that is the Indira Sahani case. That is the Indira Sahani case. Okay. This was one judgment that came in 1992, and even before the Indra Sahani case, there was one particular rule of reservation that has to be followed. What is the rule of reservation? Reserved categories should not go above 50%. Reservation should not go above 50%. And even Indra Sahani case also said that yes, reservation should not go above 50%. Now you see this particular thing. Now, maximum reservation should not be more than 50%. So, what space they had? They only had 27% space left, because if 15 plus 7.5 plus 27 you will add, you will get, just a minute, you will get 49.5%. Okay, 49.5%. So total reservation that is being given in India today on social indicators, it is 49.5%. Why 27% reservation was given? Because this was the only space that was available. This was the only space that was available. Okay, now understand this thing. Now, as OBC reservation was suggested by Mandal Commission in 1980, what happened? Since 1980s, political parties started mobilizing people on the backwardness. For example, they reached to the people and said that Mandal Commission has recommended reservation for you because you are backward, but government is not giving. Now, you need to understand this thing also, that though Mandal Commission recommended it in 1980, but reservation actually was given in 1990. So period between 1980 to 1990, reservation has been suggested but actually not given. So political parties, they will go to people and will tell them that actually you are backward, reservation has been suggested for you, but government is not giving. If you vote us, we will come to the parliament, we will come to the government, and we ensure that you are given your reservation. Okay, they started asking patronization for people. People even started voting for them. 1990 reservation was given, but how much reservation was given? 27% reservation was given. Okay, and since 1990, what has happened? Political parties, they have went to people and said, the one who got reservation, to them they will say, because of our effort you got reservation, so you should vote for us. And the people who did not got, they will go to them and will say that you also deserve backwardness reservation, you vote for us, and when we'll come to power, we'll ensure that you also get it. So since 1980, the politics of India is being characterized by the mandalization of politics, where political parties, they specialize on mobilizing the people on the backwardness card. They specialize people on the mobilization on the backwardness card. Okay, now, this was happening in India. This was happening in India. But in 2014, what happened? 2014, what happened? BJP. BJP wanted to form the government. Now, understand, the politics is actually a very genius game. Now, BJP never mobilized any backward caste. Okay, they did not focus on that. but people or political parties were mobilizing people on backwardness caste. Now BJP knew this particular thing, that they need to give a bigger identity to people. Okay, they need to give a bigger identity to people. And what happened? BJP introduced two identities to mobilize people. Number one, nationalism. Number one, nationalism. And number two, religion. Number two, religion. So what happened? They consolidated. Now, what political parties they were doing? They were catering to backward people. And now in backward people also, there are hundreds and hundreds of castes are there. One party is catering to 510 caste, other party is catering to 510 caste, other party is catering to 510 caste. Now what BJP came, they brought all the people within the major dominant religion, all the caste together under the name of religion, and they formed their government. Post 2014, what has happened? The political parties which were mobilizing people on backwardness, they have become irrelevant. They have become irrelevant. Now they want to mobilize people again on backwardness. So what they need to do? They need to reinvent again the backwardness issues. They need to reinvent again the backwardness issue. And for that particular thing, what is happening? The political parties, they are saying that we need to conduct the caste census. And actually, now if you see what in a nutshell conclusion has been given by Bihar. In a nutshell, Bihar has given this particular conclusion that if you talk about the population of OBCs and EBCs, 36 and 27, 36 and 27, okay, around 63% population is of backward. 63% people around is of backward, and these people, they are given only 27% reservation. So today, what will be the new demand that will be made? New demand that will be made, that when population of backward people is around 63%, why you are giving them only 27% reservation? Reservation is to be increased. Reservation is to be increased. So understand this particular thing, guys, that 50% ceiling on reservation in jobs and educational institution, and this was also it was accepted by Supreme Court in Indra Sahani judgment. Okay, and up till now this 50% limit is going on. Now, according to even the political scientist Sanjay Kumar, they say that now political parties will use this caste census data to say OBC people are more, increase this from 27% limit. Now you will ask a question, that how 27% level can be increased, because maximum reservation will be 50%. How it can be increased? This question is very logical. But what opposition parties will say? Opposition party will say that actually, sir, you have already broken that 50% limit. How? Because if you remember, 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act, already 10% additional reservation for EWS, economically weaker section, has been introduced. So if you see today, reservation that are being given, let's see, 15% reservation to scheduled caste, 7.5% reservation to scheduled tribe, 27% reservation to OBC, 10% reservation to EWS. Today, we are giving 59.5% reservation, and Supreme Court has upheld 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act. So point is that 50% ceiling limit doesn't exist today. It has already been broken, and Supreme Court also have upheld that. So now these political parties, they got even more force. They say that if this 50% limit has been broken, then what is the problem? Why you are not increasing 27% reservation for backward people whose population is more than 60%? This is something that they are trying to bring. They are trying to bring. And what will happen now? Now, these political parties will propose this particular thing, that in entire India, caste census should be conducted. And in proportion to the backward class people's population, reservation needs to be revised. This is actually the follow-up. Now, this Bihar census was a kind of a warm-up exercise, and demand for entire country level caste census will now be made. And political scientists say this thing, that now it is an attempt to introduce Mandal 3.0 in Indian politics. Mandal 3.0 in Indian politics. Okay. So this is, guys, all about this particular issue. I hope that you have understood it. Now understand this thing, that this development is going on for so many of the years. Now, my point is that, guys, see, just you are not required to see on the face of it that this percent data is there at end of the topic. Some topics you need to go in too much detail, a little bit detail, because now this is very much important for the topic of GS paper number 1, caste politics in India. Caste politics in India. So I hope that you have understood it. Okay. Now, moving to next article. Okay. One more thing, guys, I just want to tell you about this previous data, this previous article. See, there is a lot of background story that is there. Okay. And if you don't know that background story, making sense of this article is little bit difficult. So I will suggest you this particular thing that if needed, after some days, please note down the date of this analysis. And if again this development comes, please see this background that we have discussed today, because only then these developments will make a sense for you. Okay, so here we have one article from text and context section. Counting deaths in India's prison. Counting deaths in India's prison. Okay, so we'll see this particular article with respect to social justice GS2. Social justice GS2, and also with respect to the criminal justice system reforms. We'll take this article. Criminal justice system reforms. Okay. Now, first of all, what is this criminal justice system? So, criminal justice system police, includes police, judiciary, and prisons. Police, judiciary, and prisons. So, reforms across these three wings, it is broadly referred to as criminal. Now, this police, judiciary, and prison, it is called as the criminal justice system, and reforms in these is called as the criminal justice system reforms. Now, what has happened recently? Recently, there is the prison statistics in India report that was released. First of all, I will tell you about this report. About this report. So every year, what happens? The prison deaths, number of people who are dying in prison, their deaths is their numbers, they are compiled, and a report is notified. Report is notified. Name of this report is Prison Statistic India report, and this particular report is released by, published by National Crime Record Bureau. And recently Prison Statistics India report was released, and it has given the number of people who are dying in prison. Okay, Supreme Court has specifically pointed on this particular thing, that number of people dying in prison because of unnatural reason, their number is on the rise, and specifically people dying by suicide in jail, their number is also increasing. So this is something that actually happened in the background. Okay, now let's go in detail of this particular article. Now, first of all, guys, when we talk about people dying in prison, people dying in prison, deaths can be categorized under two broad headings. Number one are natural death. Now, natural death are the deaths because of aging and illness. So, let's say a person was already 80, 85-year old and he died because of the age, natural death, illness, natural death. But then the another category is unnatural death. And in unnatural deaths, death because of suicide, death because of inmate assault. So you have seen that recently in the hard jail also there was a fighting in the inmates. So in such kind of incidents, people dying, that is also unnatural death. Death because of fire, negligence by police authorities, excesses by police authorities. Okay, accidental death. Okay, death by earthquake, snake bites, drowning, accidental fall, burn injury, drug consumption, alcohol consumption. All these deaths are unnatural death. Okay, now, natural deaths, we don't have any control, but unnatural death could be reduced by proper institutional reforms and by the institutional alertness. These deaths can be reduced. Now, Supreme Court has specifically provided this particular thing, that actually suicide is a leading cause of unnatural death in the prisons. Okay, and large number of people are dying because of the suicides. And UP, Uttar Pradesh records the highest number of suicides between 2017 to 21 in the jail. And as we talk about suicides, the prevalence of suicide in prisoners is more than the prevalence of suicide in the general population. So indirectly, we can also see that maybe because of the mental stress that accumulates in the prison, suicides is the leading cause of death in prisons. Okay, now Supreme Court has showed a concern on these high number of unnatural deaths that are there. And I already told you that suicide rate is high. According to a report by Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, it says that the suicide rate in jail inmates is more than twice than in the general population. And specifically, Supreme Court has also provided this particular thing. Supreme Court has provided this particular thing, that distinction of the prison authorities between natural death and unnatural death. This distinction is unclear. Supreme Court says this particular thing. Suppose A person was aged, and because the person was aged, he had, let's say, some complication. For example, he had some cardiovascular disease. Now disease is because of age, but he was not given a proper medical attention, and because of that he died. Will you classify that this death as natural or unnatural? Because the death by negligence is unnatural, but disease was there, and that is natural. So you see this particular thing, that there is an ambiguity, there is an ambiguity. Okay, guys, is voice clear now? Please comment. Is voice clear? And also, please comment. Since when the voice went out? Okay, what was the last sentence that you heard? Please comment that also. Okay, is voice clear now? Please tell. Yes, guys, is the voice clear? Please tell this, and also please tell that since when. Uh, what was the last sentence that you were able to hear clearly? Okay, fine. So I hope that the voice is clear now. Now we'll go back and we'll see. Don't worry, you'll not miss anything. Okay. Okay, we'll go back. Fine. So I told you about that the suicide prevalence is double in prisoners compared to general population. And I then told you this particular thing, that when we talk about the Supreme Court has specifically pointed out this particular thing, that the distinction between natural and unnatural death is unclear. Now, actually, what is the issue? The issue is this. The issue. Okay, now I hope that the sound is clear. Fine. Now, the issue is this, that Supreme Court says that suppose there is a person. This person is 80 years old, and this 80-year-old person has some cardiovascular problem. He got a heart attack. Okay. Now, this heart attack is an age related issue, but medical negligence happened. Proper medical care was not given in the jail. And because of that thing, the person died. Will you classify this death as natural or unnatural? Because aging was there, due to the disease was there, natural. But actually person could have lived if proper medical attention would have given. So here, if you see, Here if you see, there is ambiguity, there is negligence also that is there, and the illness was also there. Which what you will do? Here most probably prison authority will classify it as a natural death. Supreme Court specifically provides this particular thing. Supreme Court specifically provide this particular thing. Okay, what Supreme Court says, that deaths in prison are under reported. Okay, and large number of times even negligence deaths are being recorded as a natural death. Okay, now when we talk about the expenditure, when we talk about infrastructure, it is not sufficient to provide medical care to prisoner. For example, out of total expenditure that are being made on prison, just 5% of expenditure it is spent on medical facilities according to the PSI 2021 report. Okay, now further moving on in this particular direction, because so much less money is being given to the medical infrastructure, many number of a times prisoners they prisoners they don't get good medical facilities, medical professionals are not there. Particularly mental health is the most ignored area, the most ignored area. Now Supreme Court in 1996 already ruled this particular thing, that prisoner also have right to health. By the way, one basic thing I need to tell you, guys, understand this thing. We have article number 21 which talks about right to life with dignity, and under article 21 right to health has been embedded. And Supreme Court in multiple judgments such as the bandhua mukti Bandhua Mukti Morcha judgment and multiple other judgments are there, where Supreme Court has provided right to health is a fundamental right, and even prisoners have that. But prisoners face two type of problem. Problem number one, they face this particular handicap. They don't have access to medical expertise that a free citizen have. For example, if you are a free citizen, you can consult a doctor in AIMS, you can consult a doctor in Medanta or any XYZ hospital. Wherever you find the best treatment regimen, you can take that. But a prisoner doesn't have that particular choice. Fine. And secondly, these prisoners, they are actually exposed to more health hazards because of their incarceration, because they are in jail. They are into the cramped living. Sanitation is always poor there. Communicable disease will spread more. Okay. So they actually are exposed to more health hazard. So because of these things, there is a double handicap on prisoners. Now, Model Prison Manual of 2016, Mental Health Care Act of 2017. They specifically pointed out onto the jail inmates' right to adequate and dignified health care. Okay, and they provide this particular thing, that prisoner authorities, they need to carry adequate investment in healthcare facilities. They need to focus not only the physical health care but also mental health care is adequately available. They need to set up mental health units. They need to train officers to provide basic emergency care. Also, Supreme Court provided this particular thing, that see, mental mental anxieties, mental health crisis can be reduced to a large extent by doing some small interventions. For example, it has been provided that adequate number of telephones should be provided to jail inmates, which they can do to their friend and family. Many number of times, because they are not able to talk with their friends and family, they are lonely. That leads to a mental health and anxiety concerns. Also, it has been said that the prisoners should be allowed to access the newspapers, periodicals, journals, magazines, so that they are occupied and they don't do these harmful activities, self-harm, and their mental health is uh, catered by these things. So this is something that has been recommended. I hope that you have got it. Now, moving to next article. What are the Lagrange points and why is Aditya L1 headed to 1? Now, guys, if you are following newspaper analysis regularly, I think at least 7 8 times we have discussed this article. Again, it has come in the science page today. Let's discuss this particular article. This article we are going to discuss with respect to GS paper number 3, Science and Technology, as well as in prelims, Science and Tech. Prelims, Science and Tech will take this particular article. Okay. Now, first of all, some basic information. You might be knowing this particular thing, that already we have launched the Aditya L1. Now, Aditya L1 will be the solar observatory. It will observe the sun. It will observe the sun's corona. That is okay, corona. That is the atmosphere around the sun. Okay, fine. It will also observe the protosphere of the sun and will be able to give us a large number of insights about the sun. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that many number of times the solar flares, they interrupt the functioning of instruments on satellites. Many number of times the solar flares, okay, solar winds, they also impact the working of the radio signals even on the earth. We need to we need to know a lot about sun, so that we can understand how these solar phenomena is going to further impact India's earth's environment in the future. And to study, Aditya L1 mission has been launched. Now Aditya L1 will be parked here at L1 point, which stands for the Lagrange point 1. Now what are these Lagrange points? Now understand this particular thing, guys. Lagrange point, it is a point which is found between two objects, and this point is up at a place where gravities of two objects will cancel with each other. For example, for example, you see, you see, here we have sun, here we have earth. Now, sun is pulling objects towards itself because of gravity. Earth is pulling objects towards itself because of gravity. What will happen? There will be a particular point between the sun and earth where gravities will counterbalance each other. Gravities will counterbalance each other. Let's say one person is pulling you from this side, one person is pulling you from this side. What will happen? After a time, you will stuck in between, because from here somebody is pulling the force, here somebody is pulling the force. So Lagrange point is that particular point where gravity of two objects counterbalances and a particular object gets stabilized, a particular object gets parked. So here we are going to park our Aditya L1. Aditya L1. Is it clear or not? Now, when we talk about the Lagrange point, it has a benefit that satellite in this Lagrange point will keep its position constant. Its position will not be disturbed. And here, if you see, Lagrange point 1, Aditya L1 will have the continuous view of sun. It will not be obstructed by the moon. It will not be obstructed by the moon. It will have the constant view of the sun. Now further, article provides this particular thing, that when we talk about these Lagrange points exist throughout the solar systems between the different bodies. Okay, between the different bodies, these Lagrange points, they exist. Is it clear or not? And these particular points, they are named after an Italian French mathematician, Joseph Louis Lagrange. Okay, so he was the one who came out with this idea of Lagrange point, and with the help of this particular thing, today today the expedition of space, they are possible. If these Lagrange point would not have been there, ISRO's L1 mission would not have been possible. It would not have been materialized. Is it clear? Now, further article talks about that how he discovered Lagrange point one, what was the calculation that he used. That thing is not at all important for our examination. No need to go in that. Okay. Now, when we talk about Aditya L1, it is launched in Lagrange point 1 L1. Now this point is around 1.5 billion kilometer away from the earth, and this particular point actually is becoming much populated. Why? Because already there are many observatories by other countries that are also there. Fine. For example, for example, 4 robotic explorers have been launched by NASA already. There is NASA's solar and heliospheric observatory satellite that is there. Then after that, there is this Deep Space Climate Observatory, Advanced Composition Explorer, Global Geospace Science Wind Satellite. These 4 probes are already there at L1 point. Aditya L1 will reach within 4 months. And also USA is planning 3 more probes here. That is Interstellar Mapping and Acceleration Probe, Near Earth Object Surveyor, Space Weather Follow on L1, and Europe is launching 1 more probe, that is Vigil mission. Okay. Now these missions, this last paragraph, they are planned, they are proposed, and in next few years they will also be launched here. So this L1 point is going to become far more populated. And idea is this, guys, that rather than sending the dedicated missions, okay, every country sending the dedicated mission, rather than populating the space, because space is already dealing with the problem of space junk, it will be good that if countries come in a collaborative step and can in collaboration launch these projects. Fine. That is about it. That is about it. Now, moving to next article, buildings bricks for the future. Building bricks for the future. Now, this particular article, we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2 international groupings. GS paper number 2 international groupings. Okay. Now, uh, by the way, we have taken all these dimensions earlier also. So recently, guys, what happened? BRICS summit was held, and you already might be knowing this particular thing because we have taken it up earlier that 6 new members have been added to BRICS. Earlier, BRICS had 5 members: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Now, 6 more members have been added to BRICS. In total, now BRICS have become 11-member organization. So, what are these new members that have been added to BRICS? Argentina, Iran, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, and Egypt. These 6 countries have been inducted. Now, understand this particular thing that when we talk about the BRICS, first of all, we need to see that how these particular things will play an important role. First of all, when we talk about BRICS, BRICS specifically emerged out of an economic compulsion. So, countries within the BRICS, countries, they are largely the developing countries which have come together for an economic cooperation. Okay. Now, this BRICS as an organization, it is not specifically a military alliance or a security alliance. Are you getting it or not? Fine. And therefore, now this is one thing. Secondly, just a minute. Yes, when we talk about the BRICS, it was purely an economic organization. And today, by addition of these 11 countries, BRICS economic clout has increased even more. Because today, if we talk about the combined GDP of the BRICS countries, it is around 36% of the global GDP. One third of the global GDP is in the BRICS. And secondly, 47% of the world population, around half of the world population by 2050, it will be in the BRICS. So this organization is becoming a counterbalance to G7. So today we talk about G7. It happens to be one of the most powerful economic grouping, but counter to G7, BRICS is emerging. Okay. Now understand one. By the way, G7 members I have written here. Now when we talk about BRICS, within BRICS there are specifically 2 countries that are of special concern. That is China and India. And dedicatedly, if we just talk about China and India, these are the 2 countries which contains one third of the global population. These 2 countries are the world's fastest growing economies, and these 2 countries will be in the top 3 world economies. Fine, will be among the top 3 economies of the world by 2030. So today we see this particular thing that the BRICS is actually becoming a very big counter to G7 and Western dominated organization. Now, guys, see this particular thing today we see that there is actually a polarization going on between USA and the other parts of the world, that is China and Russia. China and Russia. This polarization is going on between the world countries. Now, if you see, guys, that many countries they actually many countries actually they see that the USA's stance against China, many countries see it is not right, it is not correct. They see that the West has always tried to dominate on the other countries, and USA's policies against China is just an attempt to dominate China now. USA, if you see, it is imposing more and more tariffs on China. It is creating barriers to restrict China's expansion. And all the countries who are against this USA's policy, this they are going to become part of the BRICS. They are going to part of a BRICS. Is it clear or not? Now, when we talk about China, guys, understand this particular thing. China actually has tried to increase its dominance. But in the BRICS, China is not going to be the most dominant player. Why? Because in the BRICS, China will be counterbalanced by the democratic countries. For example, within the BRICS grouping, China will not be a dominant player. India, South Africa, Brazil, they will balance it. They will balance it. So these are all the geopolitical issues that are going on. Okay. Now, further moving on in this particular thing. So, guys, we see this thing that today, as in Cold War, there was the search for some alternative grouping. Non-aligned movement became popular. Today, also, countries want an alternative grouping. Okay, and in this particular direction, what is happening? The countries are joining the BRICS. Moreover, within the BRICS, there is also one more agenda that has become quite popular. That is a de-dollarization. Now, what is de-dollarization? Today, we see that dollar is the hegemonic currency. Most of the trade is happening in dollar, and dollar has used that particular thing to its advantage. In de-dollarization, countries propose that we will use our domestic currencies for trade, And for that also, the countries are coming within the BRICS. Now, today, if you see the digital currencies, they are going to be the future currencies for international trade. And in the digital currencies, India and China, they have done the considerable progress. So within the BRICS platform, they are also going to reduce the hegemony of the US dollar. Okay. Now further, BRICS is also going to be a promising organization in the future. It is because of the Africa's inclusion in this. Africa's inclusion in this. Now understand this particular thing, guys. When we talk about Africa, Africa is an emerging continent, and Africa, it is not happy with the European attitude against it. For example, what has happened? The way France has intervened in Niger, particularly migrant issue. Okay, particularly African migrants who are going to the Europe and their attitude with them, it is not being liked by the Africa. So Africa is looking for some alternative platform. And what has happened? India has recently proposed full membership of African Union at the G20 summit also. And now what is happening? Also, Africa is looking forward to get associated with the BRICS. So that particular thing will make BRICS even more important platform in the times to come. Okay, so this is about this particular article. Now, moving on to next article, the narrative of development and populism. Now, this particular article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2, social justice issues related to electoral politics. Issues related to electoral politics. Okay. Now, what has happened recently? Prime Minister laid the foundation stone for big ticket projects in Madhya Pradesh. Here, if we see what has happened recently, Prime Minister laid a foundation stone for projects worth 50,700 crore in Madhya Pradesh. Also, if we see opposition party in in the state of Telangana, they have promised the guarantees for the people. They have promised the guarantees for the people. Now, these guarantees are of many different types. For example, this minimum basic income will be given to people. These minimum social justice entitlements will be given to people. This much food will be given. This much XYZ entitlement will be given. So guarantees have been announced for the people by opposition in Telangana, and 50,000 crore rupee project has been unveiled by Prime Minister in Madhya Pradesh. Now, all these particular steps, they are called as the steps of development. They are called as step of development. Now, you need to understand the difference between two words, that is development and populism. Development and populism. Now, development is a long-term strategy to improve the economic output of a country, which will also bring the social justice indicator improvement. Okay. So when you are concerned about the long-term growth of a nation, when you are concerned with the capacity building of a nation, when you are concerned with building the also bringing the social justice, that is called as a development. For example, government is investing 50,000 crore rupees in an IT park. Now, when you invest 50,000 crore rupees in that IT park, obviously a lot of employment will be generated. Large number of people will get jobs. Okay, as the people will get jobs, they will be able to invest better in the health, education. So as a whole, social indicators will also improve. Now, this is an example of development. On another hand, there is a populism. Now, what is populism? Populism are those policies which are just aimed to attract people, which are just aimed to attract people. For example, I came and I say that if I win the election, I will give an iPad or iPhone to every person in my constituency. Now, iPhone will not build any capacity for you, but this is just to attract people. So, development versus populism. Populism is short term, development is a long term. Now, government, whatever promise they are making, they will say that these promises will bring development. The long term growth will be brought by this. Now, we can never tell that it is purely a populism or is it a developmental policy. There will be a gray area that will always be there. Okay. Now, the article further says this particular thing, that equating development to visible mega infrastructure project could create a dangerous obsession. Now, understand this thing. Always people think, now, always see, if you need to show development to people, you need to promise mega infrastructure project that will be visible. For example, world's largest solar park, world's largest IT park, world's largest highway project, okay, or India's largest, state's largest. Visible mega infrastructure projects they are promised. Okay. Now it might become a dangerous obsession. How it might become a dangerous obsession? Many number of a times, big infrastructure projects, they might not take in account the environmental, ecological vulnerabilities of a place. For example, it gives example of Uttarakhand. Now, Uttarakhand faced a big disaster in 2013. Flooding was there. Now, after this disaster, just to attract the people, government said that we will reconstruct Uttarakhand, and even bigger infrastructure projects such as the Char Dham project they have started. Now, this Char Dham project is not suitable for the ecology of Uttarakhand. Okay, so many number of times what is happening in the name of development, big ticket projects are taken which are unsustainable, which are unviable for a particular region. Okay, moreover, also what is happening in the name of development, populism is taken. Okay, for example, freebies to the people. For example, farm loan waivers are being given to the farmer. These populisms are also being taken up. Now, it has been provided that according to Danny Radrick, now first of all, populism will have two dimensions, political and economic. Okay, political dimension, you are just giving some freebie to attract people politically so they vote for you. Economic dimension, these populistic schemes, they will be financed by whom? Taxpayer. It will have economic dimension. Many number of a times, because you are financing populism, developmental projects will not be taken up. So it will have political and economic dimension. Now it has been provided this particular thing that populism, the distinct trait of the trait of populism is that it claims to represent and speak for the people, which is assumed to be unified by a common interest. Populism looks that it is addressing people's most important grievances, most important problems, but that is not. In long term, populism is not right. In long term, populism will impose a lot of financial cost. It will create inappropriate physical infrastructure. For example, those type of infrastructure projects which are not unsustainable, which are not sustainable, which are not suitable. So this is something. So it says that voters also need to distinguish that what is actually real development and what is being just branded as development, but it is actually populism. And only genuine development is something which needs to be prioritized. Okay, that is about this whole article. Then, criminal law bill and a hollow decolonization. Now, basically, guys, this article is talking about the three bills which have been brought by parliament, by government in parliament. What are these three bills? So you know that Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code, and Indian Evidence Act, they are being replaced by the new bills. Now, article is saying that government has came out with these new bills. The government is has come out with these new bills and saying that we want to decolonize our criminal law system. Now, if you talk about these laws are actually based on colonial hangover. Okay, these laws are 150 years old, that is IPC, particularly the Indian Penal Code and Indian Evidence Act, more than 100-year old. Okay, and they say that in order to decolonize these laws, we are bringing new ones. Now, article is just saying that no decolonization is happening. Okay, it is just talking about the specific provisions of this particular bill. Now, my point is that, guys, up, see, understand, listen very carefully. Right now, bills have just been proposed in the parliament. Bill have been referred to the select committee. Now the committee will study the bill, will give its recommendations and amendments to the bill. Then that bill will be brought in parliament. In parliament again amendment will happen. Certain provisions will be changed. As of now, there is no need to go and do the scrutiny of these provisions because a lot of things will actually get changed by the time the recommendations of a select committee will be given and it will be taken up in the parliament. Okay, so I will not suggest you to go too much in detail. However, I have given the summary. If you want to read it, you can read it. But as of now, for exam, no need to go too much in that. Then there is this article, WHO approves use of malaria vaccine with adjuvant technology. Okay. Now we'll see this article with respect to the prelims examination. Now, first of all, guys, when we talk about a malaria, you might be knowing this thing already that malaria, it is a mosquito-borne infectious disease, and malaria is caused by a parasite called as plasmodium, and this plasmodium is transmitted to human through the bites of infected female anopheles mosquito. So anopheles mosquito, it carries a plasmodium, and through these mosquitoes the malaria infects the humans. Now, as of now, we didn't had the vaccine for now what has happened, WHO has recommended that R21 matrix M, this vaccine can be used for malaria. Now this R21 matrix M malaria vaccine, It is developed by University of Oxford, and it will actually be manufactured by Serum Institute of India. Okay, this particular vaccine will leverage adjuvant technology which has been developed by Novavax. Now, what is adjuvant technology? Adjuvant technology refers to using any method or using any substance or any salt in a drug which will increase the effectiveness of a vaccine or medication. Okay, so adjuvants are a particular type of salts, particular type of elements, chemical compositions that are added to increase the immunity, to increase the effect of a particular drug. Okay, so this is something that has been approved. Now, it has been it has been approved after meeting the safety, quality, and effectiveness standards. Okay, that is all about. Beyond that, nothing more important is given in this particular article. Okay, and then taking up the main practice question for today. So, question reads that BRICS is now 36% of global GDP, and the population of its members will reach 47% of world population by 2050. In this context, could discuss the long-term opportunities that this group presents. Okay, uh, for India, for India specifically. So this is going to be the GS paper number 2, 10 marker question. Okay, so that is all, guys, about it. And with this, we come to an end to the today's session. I hope, guys, that you have understood it. Okay, that is all. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves, guys. And if you have liked the video, please do hit the like button, and please do consider leaving a lovely comment of yours on the video. Thank you so much.